Okay, we're going to jump back in with a bit of a vlog this morning. I've just got back from an hour and 45-minute long run, just making myself some breakfast at 10:30 in the morning, left it a bit late. Thought I'd run through a race announcement, which is pretty exciting, and then I'll give you a bit of a rundown of what I've been doing this week in terms of training, how training's been going during this summer period, and then a bit of a plan moving forward, both for my training, racing, and then also content making as well. So we'll start with the race announcement, which is probably the thing that's most unusual. Being in Western Australia, there's like 3 events each year that everybody does: Perth Marathon, Bridges 10K, Lake Joondalup Half Marathon. Nothing too exciting, but this year I've got something pretty cool. I have been given the crazy opportunity to go and run the Osaka Marathon in Japan with Mizuno. Kind of out of the blue, really. They messaged me and said that they put my name forward to some of the big heads of Mizuno over in Japan. They like what I do, and so yeah, they've offered me a 5-day trip to Japan to both go and see the Mizuno labs, do some Japanese cultural stuff, but then probably most importantly run the Osaka Marathon, which is an offer that's too good to turn down. So I said yes straight away, and yeah, I honestly can't believe it. It's probably the most exciting individual opportunity that I think I've ever had, and just yeah, can't be more excited. Get to do probably 3 of the most fun things that I can really think of, which is travel, run, and then chat about running shoes with people who know what they're talking about. So very, very excited by that opportunity. Obviously there's going to be a few small changes to the content that I make. Like there might be a little bit more of a Mizuno focus because I'm going to be racing in the Way Rebellion Pro 3 or the Pro Beta, whichever one you want to call it. And obviously if I'm going to see the Mizuno Design Labs, I want to run in a few of the Mizuno shoes so that I have some good questions to ask and can kind of understand the designs, the direction that they're moving. But overall, Mizuno have been really good. I asked them up front whether I was going to be able to continue to make a lot of the content that I already do, the honest reviews, chat about other brands, other shoes, and they said that they want me to. They said that the main attraction of my kind of content is the honesty, the down-to-earth kind of feeling, the fact that I kind of just say what I want. And so yeah, they said, keep doing what you're doing. This only works if people trust it. And so yeah, I will be doing a bit more Mizuno stuff, but that's mainly just, yeah, kind of the outcome of training towards a race where you're going to run in a Mizuno shoe. But I will still review other shoes. We'll still give you my honest thoughts, and we're hopefully going to document all of the training that I do leading up to it, the race itself as well, the travel, the trip. Yeah, I think it's going to be very, very exciting. Hopefully going to try keep it simple, not super like overproduced, which hence why we're beginning it in my kitchen. But yeah, I just want to kind of show what it's like to be part of some of these trips, what's kind of expected of you, and yeah, what it's like kind of going from living on a farm where you don't see many people to going to one of the busiest cities on earth and running a massive marathon, which is just, yeah, a huge contrast. So very, very excited for that. My goal for the race, although they say that it's not a performance thing, I obviously want to get the best out of this opportunity. My goal for that race is to go sub 240. My current PB is 243, which I ran in Perth when the weather was quite warm. I think it was about 23 or 24 degrees for most of the race. A little bit of rain over the freeway as well made it quite slippery for me anyway, running in the Cloudburn Strike, stupid shoe. But yeah, I really want to make the most of the opportunity. I think I have sub 240 in me, but that's going to be the kind of main focus. Don't want to get carried away. Don't want to try and take off 6 or 7 minutes. I'll just let it happen on race day. But yeah, going to try to stick to a plan. We're currently about maybe six or 7 weeks into this marathon block. I've got about 9 weeks until the race itself. It's in late February, probably the 24th, I think, of that month. So I've got 9 weeks left. The mileage is getting higher, the sessions are getting longer, and the temperatures are getting hotter as well. So it's been quite tough up on the farm. Probably been about average of about 40 degrees for the past 2 weeks, I'd say. Today on Sunday, I'm down in Perth at the moment, by the way. I'm doing some work at Running Warehouse. Up on the farm today, it's going to be 45 degrees Celsius. And best you believe it will get there as well. So I'm quite glad that I'm down here in Scarborough, next to the beach, a little bit of a nicer environment. But yeah, training's been pretty tricky with that kind of, very stinky heat. It's always warm, kind of never really drops below 25, 26 degrees. Even at like 6 o'clock in the morning, it's just cooking. So it's gonna be quite an interesting training block, training in that heat, contrasted with a very cold, fast race day. But yeah, I'm very excited to take that on. I think in terms of my content plan for this training block, I'm gonna try to do kind of weekly updates of my training. I'll do a few like vlogs of sessions and stuff, a few long runs and other things like that. I'll do some Mizuno shoe reviews. That's probably going to be kind of tied into it as well. But yeah, overall, just going to try to keep it relaxed. I don't want it to become this like epic, you know, I don't want it to become cringe. That's what I want it to be. I want it to be simple. I want it to be honest, down to earth, straightforward. I don't want it to be, yeah, overproduced, over edited. I don't want to spend hours of my day putting together color coded, symbolic, beautiful piece of art. It's just going to be a vlog of what I'm doing moving towards the race. So I'm going to eat my breakfast now, and I refuse to eat on camera. So we'll do that, and then we'll chat about my long run, my training for the week, and yeah, what's kind of going to happen as we move through the next 9 weeks of training. Okay, let's chat about the long run today and my training for the week. We ran for an hour and 45 minutes today, an hour and 45:56 if you want to be real picky, 22.4 kilometers of running, so a decent amount, 4:43 average pace, pretty happy with that in the heat, 234 meters of elevation gain, which is not much at all, but pretty typical for Perth. We went from Scarborough, a Long Hale Road, up to Herdsman Lake, wrapped all around the bottom edge, and then caught onto Selby Street, ran down through Floriat, and then cut across through Lemnos Street into Mount Claremont. Then we ran up along the edge of Bold Park, past Perry Lakes, jumping back onto West Coast Highway, and running past City Beach back up to Scarborough. So decent loop, had a fair bit of shade, which was quite nice. It's always a good feeling as well when you kind of plan out a route in your head and it kind of ends up being almost spot on. So yeah, pretty happy with that. Getting very, very close to the hour and 45. In terms of kit, shoes, and gels and everything else, we wore the On Cloud Monster Hyper, which is probably, spoiler alert, one of my favorite long run shoes of this year. Absolutely love this shoe for the kind of pop that you get out of the forefoot with the Piba foam. And although some people don't like the kind of Helion structured cloud pods in the heel, I know that they do feel clunky. For me, as a mid to forefoot striker, they kind of just give the shoe that little bit of structure and stiffness, which I think it needs, and it works really well as that kind of longer rolling long run shoe, which has a bit of energy return, can kind of pick up the pace a bit. But yeah, it just keeps my legs feeling fresh. I do think that it gets better over the course of the run. Like at the start, it can feel a little bit firm, a little bit stiff, but as the midsole starts to kind of break in, warm up, you kind of get a bit more flex. The pods in the heel start to soften up, really opens up to the point where I can kind of get into a tempo pace by the end. I think the upper is fantastic as well. Nice rounded toe box. The tongue is beautiful. Such a weird thing that On can make such great uppers sometimes, but then such ghastly uppers other times with the Cloudboom Strike. But yeah, fantastic long run shoe. It's going to be featuring in my video of my kind of roundup for the year of my favorite shoes. So that's a spoiler alert there, but got a couple here as well, which I've kind of stacked up, ready to chat about pretty much straight after I finish filming this vlog. But yeah, great shoe, really happy with it. Kind of thought I'd just dig it out, have another crack before we chucked in that video. In terms of fueling, I have been taking gels with me on my long runs, both because it's hot and I'm running a decent distance, decent time, and also because I'm training towards a marathon. Need my gut to adapt to taking on fuel. And so yeah, it's probably better to take on a little bit too much than too little and actually, yeah, get that adaptation. I also find it's good for my recovery. I feel a lot better in the kind of hours after my long run. I'm not passed out on my couch for 3 hours, and also just feel less hungry. I'm not gonna go and absolutely stuff my face with a whole bunch of chocolate or ice cream or anything like that. I can kind of control my eating to actually, you know, eat something which is nutritionally meaningful. So today we took 3 gels with me. I only ended up drinking 2. I took with me a pure pineapple gel, which is fine. It doesn't have a whole lot of carbs. It's got 24 grams of carbs. And then I took with me another Bix hydration, or now Bix nutrition, I guess, one of their gels, 40 grams of carbohydrates in a single gel. I'd say that the pure gel tastes better. This pineapple flavor is very nice, but this, like, in terms of value, in terms of the amount of carbs that you fit into one gel, 40 grams is fantastic. I don't even know whether Morton get this much into a kind of single sachet gel. Obviously you can get like the 90 gram precision or even the 300 gram flow gels, but in terms of like a small gel that you can fit in your pocket, this is probably best bang for buck. Having the caffeine in there as well, how much caffeine? 75 milligrams of caffeine towards the end of the run was quite nice. Took this one at about 7 Ks, and then I took another one at 13 Ks. And yeah, I felt great throughout. Didn't crash, didn't bonk, which I think is a good result in the heat. I'll give a quick mention to my other kit as well. This is the first time I've kind of chatted through it. My running belt that I use to carry my gels and my phone is from Aonergy, which is a Chinese sportswear brand. You can get these off AliExpress for about 35 bucks. I'll say it once, I'll say it again. You don't need to be paying 70 or 80 bucks for a running belt. These are just as good. The elastic holds out quite well. Good amount of pockets. They have a couple of designs as well. So I personally like having the zip pocket on the front where I put the gels. Then I have my phone sitting in the kind of more open elastic pocket here. Some pockets on the side as well. There's a lot of storage space. It's been good so far. Durability's been good. So yeah, don't pay that much for a belt. Go and grab an Aonergy one. I'll recommend that every day of the week. My sunglasses, I've been wearing Safe Style. They gave them to me for free, which is worth pointing out, but they're very cheap. They're about 80 bucks. And I think I'm at the point where I would actually buy them myself, given the opportunity, because they're light, they sit well. They don't put a whole lot of pressure behind the ears as well, but they still fit kind of snug. They're fairly durable as well. Like the lenses don't scratch super easily, and the kind of joints or hinges on the edge of the glasses don't have any metal in them, so they're not going to snap. They're quite, like they're plastic, so you can kind of clip them back in straight away. So if you sit on them in your car or anything, you can just put them back together, which I think is nice, that you don't pay 300 bucks for a pair of glasses which can snap super easy. I will just prove that it has gone back in. Okay, so jumping into my week of training, we'll start from Monday, where I was still down in Perth for a shift of work. Feeling quite sore from the day before, so we did an hour of easy running, 5:12 per kilometre. Ended up with 11.6 Ks of running. Did that in the new Nova Blast 5, which I'm not a huge fan of. I think it's a fine shoe, like it's comfortable, it's fairly cruisy, but in terms of its softness, I just find it a little bit too much. So it kind of felt like it was draining my legs, which is ironic because usually you think soft, cushy, comfortable will actually be good for your recovery runs, but for me, I just need something which is actually going to carry me through and not sap my legs. So haven't loved the Nova Blast 5. It's kind of been straying from the original Nova Blast more and more, which is a shoe that I absolutely loved. But yeah, 5:12 pace, not too bad after a big day out in the hills. On Tuesday, we woke up after a terrible night's sleep. I think I got to bed at about 11 o'clock, woke up at about 5, and so we did another hour of easy running. About the same pace, about the same distance, this time on the farm. I'm pretty sure we wore the Hoka Cielo X1, which might be a bit illegal to some people, wearing a race shoe for easy running, but yeah, the legs were still pretty sore. Just kind of felt like doing it, Sometimes it's nice to have something which is rocket and protective underfoot. I don't rate it as a racing shoe, the Cielo X. I think it's too heavy. Kind of find it to be, just a bit of a hassle to kind of move through your stride, but for easy Ks, absolute treat. It kind of feels a bit like the Prime X from Adidas in terms of the amount of protection that you get underfoot, the bounce. But yeah, not really a racing shoe for me. Something that kind of pampers the legs, but doesn't necessarily give me that propulsive feel. Then moving on to my first session of the week, we had a 2K warm-up and cooldown, jumping into 4x2K repeats, which we ran in the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3, which I think is a thoroughly underrated racing shoe. Kind of soft, smooth, propulsive. It's got everything that you need from a racing shoe, and it's 320 bucks. So really enjoyed that for that session. We did that off 400 meters of very slow jog recovery. Target pace for those reps, I think, was around 325. I think we hit 332, let's say, for the first 3 reps. And then the final one was feeling a bit tired, so we kind of just brought it in at about marathon pace, which is about 340, 342 for me. So overall, decent enough session. Again, considering that I haven't had a good week of sleep and have been working some longer hours, was pretty happy with that overall. Then moving on to the next day, forgot to mention that I had my strength training, which was some dumbbell lunges, some calf raises, and I did some leg press as well. So was feeling quite sore there. So my hour of easy running was at an average pace of 5:30 per kilometer, just over 11 Ks of running total. We did that in the Novablast 5 as well. So I'm trying to get my Ks in it to get a full review out because I know it's very popular, but yeah, I'm still not loving it a whole lot. Then moving on to my second session of the week, we had 2x4 Ks at tempo pace, which for me is around 342, 340 per kilometer, kind of in and around marathon pace, I guess. Although marathon pace is only what you can actually run a marathon at, but that's kind of around the right kind of feel. My first segment was pretty good, 342 average pace. Turned out I had a good tailwind behind me, which I didn't even notice. So we turned around for the second segment and got absolutely blasted. 352 per kilometer was what we kind of settled for. Although my final K, which was kind of going, what it's called, perpendicular to the wind, actually ended up being a lot faster. So final K was 345. So bringing it back, even though my legs were pretty filled up with lactic. 2K warm up and cool down either side of that. Had 2 minutes of very easy jogging in between that to get a bit of recovery. And we had 2K warm up and cool down. We were running in the Chowdown Faying PB, which is a kind of Vaporfly style racing shoe from Chowdown, which also have the Faying Plaid. This is their kind of big booming marathon racer. This is a bit more direct, a bit more snappy, a bit more smooth. Quite similar in feel to the Deviate Nitro Elite 3 from Puma. Yeah, felt really good for that. For $200, you can pick it up online pretty easily. And I think it's a really solid contender. Definitely more firm, direct kind of feel, but yeah, felt really good. Then on Saturday, went for a run starting from City Beach, had 10 Ks easy, 446 per kilometer, running in the Nike Pegasus Plus. Pretty simple, snappy daily trainer. Feel a bit more grounded in this shoe. And then we had today, my long run, 22 Ks, which brings my weekly total to around 93 kilometers, 92.7 kilometers. 7.5 hours of training, 590 meters of elevation gain. So not a lot this time around, running on the farm pretty flat. But yeah, pretty happy with that week of training. About 10 weeks out from Osaka. We're going to get over the 100K mark pretty soon, I'm sure. And hopefully with a bit of a holiday down south, we should be able to get in a few solid sessions in some cooler weather. In terms of what my training is going to look like moving forward, I'm not actually entirely sure because I'm given my training by my coach, which is Matt Smith and Mackenzie Burgoyne for my strength. So yeah, most of the time I'm just following what I get given, but if I'm kind of basing it on previous training blocks, it's very likely that I'm going to peak at around 120, 130 Ks of running, which isn't heaps to be fair, but in this summer heat, it's probably going to be plenty. And then my strength work, we're probably going to continue lifting heavy for another 5 weeks or so before we taper it off and try to get fresh for race day. In terms of content moving forward, I'm going to try do a kind of weekly recap of my training. Hopefully I'll be able to get my camera out every so often so I actually have some footage and stuff to make things a bit more entertaining. I might start taking a few notes on my runs as well, so it's not just like, yeah, reading out numbers, but yeah, I'm pretty excited moving forward. We'll do those weekly training recaps. I'll try catch a few sessions on camera, maybe some easy runs or long runs, depending on what I'm feeling. A few shoe reviews coming through as well. I'm just about to film my best of 2024 video, my kind of running shoe awards, if you will. So that's gonna be good. Yeah, exciting 9 weeks coming up. Hopefully you stick around. Very, very excited.